Layer masks are a key feature of Photoshop that allow us to non-destructively hide and show selective portions of our image. We can see that in this document we have 4 different layers, or 4 different images, each on their own layer. I have a clouds layer, this curtain layer, there's a waterfall layer, and the river layer. I want to view the river and the curtain layer, and I'm going to select the curtain layer in the Layers panel, and then I'll add a mask using the Layer menu. I'll choose Layer Mask, and then Reveal All. This is going to add a white mask to the layer. Now there's 2 things that you need to know. First, this mask is white. It's not transparent. There's no checkerboard like we see in the layer of the curtains here. So the mask is white. The second thing we need to know is that wherever the mask is white, we can see the contents of that layer, in this case the curtains, in the image area. So where the mask is white, we see the contents. So if I ever want to hide the contents, all I need to do is paint with black. The mask is targeted, and I know that because it's got the highlight around it. If I click on the thumbnail for the image, now the image is targeted. So let's click on the mask. I'm going to tap the B key to select my brush, but I have a very, very small brush. So I'm going to hold down the Option and the Control key, and then click and drag to the right in order to increase the size of the brush. On Windows, that would be the Alt key plus a right click, and then drag to the right. If you have a hard edge brush, I actually want a soft edge brush, so I'm going to click and drag up to get a nice feathered edge. Now, in order to hide the bottom of the curtain, I need to tap the X key so that black is my foreground color, and then just click and paint in order to hide that so that it looks more like the curtain is fading into the rocks. If I paint too much and I go up into that image, all I need to do is tap the X key that exchanges my foreground and background color, and then just paint with white to hide the information on that layer. If we want to view our mask, I can hold down the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on Windows and click on the thumbnail in the Layers panel. Just click on the eye icon in order to view the layers again. Now, let's work with the clouds layer. I'll target it by clicking on it to make it active and also make it visible. I want to add a layer mask to this layer as well, but instead of adding a mask that reveals everything, I'll choose Layer, Layer Mask, and then Hide All. That's going to hide everything on this layer by adding a mask that's already filled with black. This will enable me to see the images below so that I can just paint in the clouds wherever I want them to appear. So with the brush tool still selected, I'm going to paint with white, but I want to change the opacity for the brush to 50%, so I'll tap the 5 key. We can see that it's changed the opacity in the options bar. Then I can click and drag and paint anywhere in the image that I want to reveal those clouds. Again, if I reveal them too much, I can just tap the X key in order to exchange my foreground and background color and start painting them out. But for now, I like it the way it is. If we hold down the Option key and we click on the mask, we can see that we do have some varying levels of opacity or of grayscale there that are selectively hiding and showing the contents of that clouds layer. Now let's hide the clouds layer for a moment because I want the waterfall layer to show through the curtain in this dark area here. So on the Layers panel, I'll target the contents of the layer. Then I'll select the Quick Select tool by clicking and holding on the Object Selection tool and then selecting Quick Select. And I'll click and drag down through that black area. If it doesn't select enough, I can continue clicking and dragging. Now it's selected a little bit too much, so I'll switch to the Subtract From Selection tool and click in the gray areas to remove those areas from the selection until I just have that black area in the center selected. Once that's selected, I'll target the mask for the curtain layer and then choose Edit, Fill, making sure that I'm filling with black for the contents. And when I fill with black in my mask, it's going to hide that curtain, and we're going to be able to see through to the layers underneath. Well, right now we're seeing through to the river layer, but if I toggle the visibility of the waterfall by clicking on the eye icon, now we can see that. Let's go ahead and deselect by choosing Select, and then Deselect. And now I want to add a mask to the waterfall layer. Instead of using the Layer menu, at the bottom of the Layers panel, with the waterfall mask selected, I'll just click on the Add Layer Mask icon. I'll switch to the Brush tool by tapping the B key, tap the X key to exchange my foreground and background color, change my opacity back up to 100% by tapping 0, and then paint with black down here in the area of the waterfall that I don't want to be visible. If I need to reposition the waterfall, I can select it on the Layers panel, tap the V key to select the Move tool, and then reposition it. I think one of the most difficult things when you're learning layer masks in Photoshop is just remembering to target the mask when you want to work on the mask and the layer when you want to work on the layer. But if you remember that where the mask is white, you can see the contents or the information on that layer. And where the mask is black, that information on the layer is hidden, then you'll have no trouble at all masking in Photoshop.